Welcome back to Beards and Brews. This week's review is going to be Hereditary from 2018. Fellas,
It was a little bit spoopy, gotta say.
it was scurry.
I was terrified when I saw this in theater. I was like, "Oh my god!" Because I'm more of a fan of the instead of a jump scare, like that constant feeling of dread. And this movie does that really well. In the theater, I was like so squished into my seat.
You're just like, oh no, just do it. Just fucking take it. Or like a Band-Aid. Just rip it off. Just rip it off.
Yeah, but the suspense is what really, pushes you along. The suspense is what gets you.
Yeah, like suspense and mystery. That's what pushes this movie for about an hour and a half. And personally, when I get to that last half an hour, it just drove itself off a fucking cliff.
Yeah, there's a few bits that are definitely like, ooh, geez. And there's some fucking really good, I won't call it a set piece, but like a horror. It's not even like a trope. Just, I don't really know how to describe it. We'll get there, but there's a scene where the mom is fucking on the ceiling and she's headbutting the attic ceiling or the attic door. And that is fucking awful looking. Like, I don't mean like in the sense of it looks bad. It looks horrifying. And the whole time you're seeing that, you're like, Jesus Christ.
That's what this movie excels in. Just like really long bouts of dreadfulness and then just like visceral, crazy, almost like body mutilation stuff.
It's a whole lot of like building dreadful like suspense in your stomach, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like this movie, I think this movie is really good. There's a lot of great acting in this movie. Like everybody in this movie is 100% believable. Each horrific event is reacted to perfectly. Like I would totally see someone just like gradually losing their fucking mind.
And what's her name? Toni Collette, the mom.
Oh yeah.
She does a phenomenal job here.
I had to look it up, and she wasn't even nominated for an Oscar. Shame on you, Academy. She was wonderful. And at first I thought she was Frances McDermott from Fargo, but
you get that vibe. You really do.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, what's Fargo doing up there?
Oh, you ain't Fargo. Ain't no wood chippers around here.
She also kind of has like that. It's like a combination of like Naomi Watts and who's the lady from The Shining?
Olive oil.
Yeah, she's like a combination of those two.
I have that in my notes. It says this olive oil looking bitch.
Shelley Duvall, yeah.
Shelley Duvall, there it is.
That'll do it.
Like Naomi Watts was she in the remake of Funny Games? That's what I'm thinking of. Let's just go with it. Yeah, the remake of Funny Games. Her.
Okay.
Her.
Because I was like, oh man, I got put on the spot. I haven't seen that movie.
Well, there's a German version and there's a completely identical American version, both directed by the same person. It's just like, hey, we could probably make more money off this if it was in English. Let's do that. And it's the same movie.
You get that a lot. For some reason, like, Americans just hate foreign movies. So it's like, man, this movie was really good, but you know what would make it better? Probably Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, not having to read it, yeah.
Well, I mean, I get it. I get distracted. I'm fine with subtitle movies, but I get distracted from time to time. I get caught up with the reading, and then it's like, wait, what's going on in this movie? I just read a page and a half.
Well, it's not so much that, the reading is the issue. There's a lot of, emoting that you'll miss while you're reading the subtitles because, they're screaming or something and, they're really trying to portray something with their face or a reaction from something being said. But you're busy reading, that's it, Mom, I've had enough of your shit. And then you look up and they're just moody. Like, well, I guess.
And anybody sitting in the front row just like basically pay $10 for a novel.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Hereditary here. So let's get back on that.
This movie opens with words, like this little text crawl that even when I saw in the fucking theater, I was kind of, like, what? And it's this big obituary of her mom.
Yeah.
And
was that fucking O'Reilly's Auto Parts?
You better know it.
It was, yeah.
Yow!
Fucking like some morning radio show. Yow, coming back in the morning with Chan Man.
No, it's part of the jingle. O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Yo!
The fact that you did it again perfectly just blew my mind.
I have listened to enough of the Fantasy Footballers podcast that, like, they do every one of their podcasts, they are sponsored by O'Reilly's. I have heard that hundreds, if not thousands of times.
Damn, they got O'Reilly's as a sponsor. We can't get a fucking pizza in this joint? Bullshit. Anyways, yeah, absolutely. It starts out with like the obituary of the grandmother of the family who had fortunately passed away, and it names off all the surviving members of the family, and we get this like really sad moment of everybody just kind of getting together, go to the funeral. You know, everybody's there. The mother of the family, whose name is Annie, she makes like a really weird, somewhat depressing speech.
Yeah, her speech at the funeral is like, yeah, I didn't really like my mom. My mom was kind of a bitch, but I'm sorry she dead. Are y'all really sorry she dead? Because she was kind of a bitch.
And then she was like, one moment, people's elbows are right in the coffin.
Yeah, she looks at all the people. She goes, "Huh, my mom would be suspicious why there's so many people here. Because fuck y'all."
And she was like, my mom was a private person. She did private things, private people, private ceremonies. Okay.
Wink.
Yeah, wink.
Yeah, we find out why all those people knew her at the end. Just hold them that little nugget of knowledge. I'll just put that right there. Dink. That's for later.
That's something else that this movie does phenomenally well. Everything that they show you, if the camera hangs on something for 1 second too long, if there's something that seems out of place, if there's a character that seems a little off, there's a reason.
Well, and fucking all of them seem a little off. There's not one right person in this movie.
I don't know. That poor teacher that had to watch that kid break his own nose, he seemed like a swell guy.
That's fair. He's just trying to do his job.
Yeah, he's up there just like chlorophyll, and the kid's like, more like borophyll. And then like, I'm just like, dude.
Peter's just like, more like smash your face into the desca-feel.
Oh, no.
But from the very beginning, we also see, it keeps getting alluded back to, there's this incredible treehouse that is built, spread between, like it branches off of 5 different trees. And it's pretty incredible. Like if that was my bedroom as a child, I would be thrilled with it. And we see that it's got a couple of heaters up there too. So if you really wanted to, you could just stay up there.
Yeah, it's like one of those open face heaters too that kind of look like a fan. They have like the heat lamp right inside. I was like, man, that's a perfect way to fucking burn alive while I'm asleep.
Yes. See, whenever the movie, the first time I watched it, and I was seeing that, I was like, okay, somebody's going to burn up in the treehouse.
Gotcha.
But it's not the tree house. It's the regular house. Spoiler.
Oh, shit. Yeah. So I guess someone did burn up.
Wink.
Anyway, next we pan to, like, we're really just getting an idea of the rooms and everything here. We see one room is like an art studio with like a model home. And the score right now is honestly really ominous. And I think the score through the whole thing is really well done. It really only gets noticeable when it needs to be noticeable. But when it does, it's fucking good.
It's always looming in a low tone in the background, just waiting. And then it slowly, as the movie does, will build and fucking just swell. And you're like, oh my God. And then just like how the action will immediately die back down, it too goes with that. It's perfect for setting the tone.
Yeah.
Yes, so far we've established that this movie has a great atmosphere and just great screenwriting. Nothing is wasted. Everything you're shown comes back. Every bit of information is used. There aren't any loose ends. And every time the soundtrack punctuates, it feels absolutely earned.
One thing we didn't allude to yet when we were at the funeral is the sister, Charlie, she's evidently 13 years old, and she is definitely more than a little bit on the spectrum. She's autistic, for sure. And she has this tic that, for whatever reason, at whatever rate, she does like a with her mouth.
Yeah, that little tongue thing when you like slap it against your mouth.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you got to get it. But yeah, that kind of keeps coming back throughout the movie. That's her calling card.
Yeah. They also like I said with the foreshadowing, they let us know early on that Charlie, this girl who looks like a, lovely little girl, but to me it was like a version of Pablo Picasso painting Helen Hunt.
Oh
And
no,
Man,
But yeah, the movie does a really great job setting up all of these characters in the family. The grandmother unfortunately passed away. You have Annie, who's her daughter. She's married to a guy who's presumably like Irish or something. It kind of bleeds through every now and again. They have
the
a son.
actor is Irish.
Yeah.
So here's something that I want to discuss with you guys. Now, the mother is a white woman. The father is a white man. The child looks like he is of Pakistani descent.
Yeah, no, I was absolutely going to bring that up. I think that guy is. My guess was Armenian because. Okay, not going to finish that sentence. My guess is that he's Armenian. I didn't look up to see where the actor is from, but yeah, he is way too ethnic to be the offspring of both of those fellas.
I actually didn't notice that until the very end. Like when they're going through all like the hubbub of. Well, we'll get to it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. You didn't notice that till the end. As soon as I saw him, I was like, what the fuck is that guy doing there? Is he adopted?
Well, it's because like he reminded me of a fellow I went to high school with.
No, it's like, hey, I got some recessive Sicilian genes in there. I am dark and hairy.
It could be, yeah.
But the mailman was Pakistani. So, did I send you all that little thing that Michael Jordan said?
Oh yeah, he was,
Anyway, yeah, he's like on a talk show,
part.
and he's like, "Are you the tallest one in your family?" He's like, "Yeah, my mom was 5'6" and my dad was 5'8". Milkman was 6'6".
Damn.
And Letterman was just like with his gap tooth.
Yeah.
We get all of these character introductions, but also is introduced that Annie is a model maker, a professional one. And the movie even starts out with like a little, almost like a Steve Zissou kind of like cutaway of the house when they zoom into the bedroom to introduce them.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually.
You actually get a lot of that in the movie. There's a lot of like camera trucking, a lot of wall breaking. I have a feeling like this house isn't real, like it's all a set, because this movie goes out of its way to break all kinds of boundaries, moving the camera around room to room just to follow characters and also make points to things like, going from like the dining room all the way to the phone ring just to let you know how long has gone on.
And just a note for this setting, this house is phenomenal. It's a big, like, nearly all entirely wooden house. Like, the interior, everything is made of wood, and it's
like a fucking cabin in Vermont.
Yeah, like, I wrote down house, cabin. It's somewhere it's like the fanciest cabin that you've ever seen. I want to say this is probably in either like the Sierra Nevadas in California or somewhere like Montana, Wyoming, somewhere in the Rockies.
House, cabin, ski resort. It's one of those.
Because even at the funeral, you see like mountains in the background.
But we get to learn a bit more about the kids. Like, hey, they're in school. And guess what? The son, he smokes the reefer.
He does love the weed.
And this movie goes full reefer madness. He takes one toke, boom, his head blows completely off.
Well, not his.
So,
come on, that was good.
I got it.
I know.
So there's all sorts of little. It's kind of hard to walk you through this. I don't want to say too much because it's, spoilers and all that shit don't really matter to me, but it's really hard to explain how the scenes are set up because it's mostly the music swells and the way the camera is panning or the way they're setting something with the man's, expression. There's a lot of that. The dialogue here isn't very important except for in certain bits and pieces.
Yeah, you do get a little bit of, like, especially when the children are talking to the mom, you get a lot of, it's not really exposition, but it's almost like background for them.
Well, the thing is, it's all to set up personal character interactions, like the camera movements and how close they get to the kids, specifically when they talk to their parents. It's this weird construction of like a personal bubble, because throughout the movie, their conversations just start quiet and just get louder and louder and more heated as the movie goes on.
And by the time you get to the end of the film, you do feel like you know these characters And so when the crazy things start happening, you're like, oh shit, oh
like
Peter.
Like I 100% agree. Like, save for like the last half an hour, I was physically stressed after everything. I was just like, fuck, how is everyone not exhausted by all this?
Because I'm just going to go ahead and get this out there. I did not have a problem with the last half hour.
Well, I mean, we'll get to it. Like, I don't hate it, but I feel like my argument is valid.
Okay. So I feel like we'll get there faster than we think. I took 4 pages of notes, but they're mostly like jokes and things like that because I didn't know what to write, because if you watch this, like I said though, it's just set pieces. You get to see something happen. You get like one line of why this is going to happen, and then you get to watch it and be made uncomfortable by it unfolding.
Yeah. I took 13 pages of notes, and honestly, I could have taken way more. I really had to restrict myself down. And by the end, I was like, fuck, this is 13 pages of notes on this movie.
Well, as someone who takes no notes, this is a good movie, guys.
Hey. But a little bit of, I don't know if we'll call it foreshadowing, but just something. Right after the funeral, the grandmother's funeral, you know, you have the mom sort of consoling the daughter. And she's like, well, who's going to take care of me when you die? And she's just like, no, don't, you know, you got your brother, your dad, you know, whatever. And then Charlie, the daughter, is like, you know, Grandma always wanted me to be a boy. And, you know, Mom's just like, oh, I was a tomboy too. Don't worry about that.
These are all things that are just like, man, these are kind of weird for this kid to say.
Yeah.
But as, like, the information unfolds, you're just like, oh.
Right. The grandmother, which is the mom's mom, as they are, briefly lived with them before she died. So a lot of her things, a lot of her stuff is in this house. And she's going through some of the boxes, photo albums and books and whatnot that the grandmother had. She has like books like Notes on Spiritualism and photo albums, stuff like that she just kind of peeps through a little bit as she's mourning.
Right after she does, we get our like first little peep at like what this movie's trying to dish, right? So she goes through the stuff, she's like mourning, she can't really handle it, so she like scoots out of the room, and just as she turns the light out, whoop, right into like her peripheral vision. Is that Grandma?
Like, I didn't see shit there. I thought she was just being a crazy person. I don't know.
It's so extraordinarily subtle, but it's totally Grandma.
But just before she does that, she looks at a card in one of those books that is actually addressed to her that says something along the lines of like, forgive me for what I couldn't tell you about my life. Please don't hate me. Our sacrifice will pale to the rewards. Love, Mommy. It's like a really weird, really kind of cryptic note, and you're just like, man, Grandma was kind of loony.
And then she flips the paper over and says, Harry's whorehouse.
Wait, is it really?
No, I just wanted to say hooer.
Oh, hooer.
But then, you know, as a grieving person would, she goes to see a movie. That's what she tells her husband, but she's not going there.
Like, I don't know why she lies about this. She's going to a
grief counseling.
Like yeah.
She goes to like a grief counseling meeting, like kind of like an AA meeting for people who have lost someone recently. And again, I don't know why she would lie to her husband about this.
Well, it's probably embarrassing, you know, like they just went through like a really hard loss. She doesn't know how to cope, and she's just trying to do everything herself. That kind of thing, you know, like, you know, when you have like a traumatic event, you kind of just want to try to handle things. Like, you don't want to be bothered or bother other people.
Like, that is way less embarrassing than saying you're going to a movie alone. Not that going to a movie alone is embarrassing, but because your husband obviously knows that's a lie.
The thing about that is that we learn later, she has been to grief counseling before. She was forced whenever she tried to light herself and her family on fire during a sleepwalking incident.
That's a whoopsie-daisy.
So yeah. I think having to go back, she's admitting that she has a problem, and she doesn't like to be there because last time she was there, was with a court order.
That's also a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a red herring, but it's mentioned beforehand that her grandmother had a ton of mental issues, dementia, all kinds of stuff, and that it runs in the family.
Yeah, we hear like
So
the whole family has mental health issues. Her son does. Her daughter is obviously autistic. Her brother committed suicide. You get all kinds of information in that meeting.
Do you know why he committed suicide? Because grandma put demons in him.
Well, I mean, I get it.
She just, while she's in that counseling, though, it's a really phenomenal scene. This lady should have gotten more recognition for the work she did in this film. She is absolutely incredible.
You were talking about red herrings a little bit ago. You want to know what's a red herring? The bird that flies into Charlie's classroom window and dies, and then Charlie goes and like fucking cuts off the head of the bird and keeps it with her. That's a red herring.
Just like her head gets knocked off.
No. Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck. Man, this movie's pretty good.
Together, yeah.
there's like a brief period in this movie where, the movie's trying to feel out the audience's expectations. So at this point, most of what happens is basically just like, huh, that was fucking weird.
Yeah, you get a lot of that. Like, stuff that's a little bit weird, a little bit off. We're not quite going into like the what the fuck just yet. We're like
we are like
wait, that doesn't seem right.
It's fucking finale, and man, the way the movie does it is beautiful. That's all I can say. It's so well done in that sense. But we're getting back in the sense of we could, jump to the next bit.
Well, the movie does a really good job of keeping you guessing. And as we mentioned before, we have a little incident where a bird flies into the window, Charlie chops his head off and puts it in her like little hoodie pocket. And after a day of school, we go back home, and Peter's just like, "Hey, Ma, can I go to this totally legitimate party where there's no booze, weeds, or girls' asses?" And she's like, "Huh, it's a weird thing to come out of a teenager's face. I bet there's weed, booze, and asses over there."
They're both just trying to like placate the other, and in this scene, like, the son is like, "Hey, there's this school thing. Can I go?" And she's like, "I know it's a party. Don't drink. I know it's a high school party. There's gonna be drinking there, but you don't drink. Also, take your sister."
What kind of a fucking insurance policy is that? Like, hey, I pretty much know that you're gonna do some dumb shit. Let me endanger
one another's bluffs. That's what was going on.
The
mother was like, "Okay, if there isn't, take your sister," and he was like, "Fuck!" But he felt too invested to pull out, and he was like, "Fine, I will." Because
it really was. This was a poker game right here. It was like, yeah, it's a school thing. Well, is your sister going? I don't know. Have you asked her? No, well, she's going. And the sister's just like, I don't want to go. Well, you're going.
I thought you were just going to be like, the sister was just like,
I did too. I thought he was going to be like, derp.
Yeah.
But she's like, yeah, then take your sister. And he's 100% like, fuck. And she forces the daughter to go. The daughter's like, I don't want to go. She's like, well, you're fucking going.
It was also like a weird rapport too. Like, she was just kind of like wandering around outside, just doing kid stuff, like hallucinating and all that stuff. And then her mom just storms outside and drags her by the arm inside, like she did something completely horrible.
Wait. Doing kid stuff like hallucinating? What kind of kid stuff did you do?
All right, you got me.
But I don't know that. I really don't think she was hallucinating here. By the way, when she's out just like roaming about, she sees like an older lady encircled in flames. Like, she's grandma. Just.
Yep,
is that grandma?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was just like another old lady just like sitting there chilling, meditating or whatever, just, circled in flames.
Just more foreshadowing.
Yeah. And Mom doesn't notice any of that, so she might be hallucinating. I don't know, but I just assumed that was real life.
Toad, kids.
Fuck it. Do Toad.
Yeah. Now they got to go to the party, and as they're driving there, they pass this telephone pole, and you get a glimpse. If you've been paying attention, there's been this sigil, this glyph engraved on several things throughout the movie already.
It also appears as Grandma's little necklace as she's being buried, like a little,
Yeah.
boop on the nose, like, "Hey, audience, are you paying attention?"
And when Mom was looking through her photo album, you would see it like, just on occasion. It's just like this little symbol. It was, I don't know how to describe it, but just a little thing.
A bunch of cursive E's.
Yeah. It looked kind of Gaelic.
The thing to take away from this, though, is the family is broken. Holy shit, are they broken? The dad, the mom, the daughter, the son, the whole unit doesn't fit together. They're like soggy puzzle pieces. They're supposed to go together, they just don't fit.
Well, I feel like the two kids, they genuinely love each other. Like, they're definitely different. You've got an autistic daughter and a stoner older brother.
I don't think she's autistic at all.
Really?
Well, I don't.
She's like in high school in regular class, like just with everyone else.
No. She's her teacher is definitely like, all right, let's put away the toy now. Let's get started on the quiz now. Like, I think she's definitely in like what's the word? Like
Special classes.
Special education classes for sure. Like, I think without a shadow of a doubt she's autistic.
Like, I get like the teacher kind of like went soft on her. I just assumed because like she just had like a tragic event happen.
Just because of that. I think like every situation that we see her in leads me to believe that she is like not just lightly. I think she's firmly autistic.
Well, I mean, the way she spoke to her brother, it didn't feel like it was hung up or anything. She made some super valid points because he goes to this party dragging her along, and like he kind of gets in good with the girl she wants to bang. And then he's like, "No, get over here, go have some cake. You don't even have to ask. Just walk over and get some cake." And she's like, "Well, I don't even know anybody here. They're not just gonna give me cake, And
he's like, "Just go stand there like a sad puppy. You'll get cake." And guess what? She gets cake that she commences to eat with her hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, like beyond a shadow of a doubt, there's nothing you can say that would make me think that she is not something other than solidly autistic.
So, she's eating this fucking cake just all over her face with her hand at some random party, and the brother's like, "Hey, chick," and she's like, "Yeah, dude, what? You're hot. Let's smoke." And she's like, "There's a bong in the other room." He's like, "Dope.
Yeah, let's go do some weeds."
It's almost kind of odd how that happens, because the entire movie, like while he's like staring at her ass in class, he'll say something absolutely dumb, and she'll just turn around with this stinkiest stink face. She's like, "Ugh, despicable."
And can we also mention the kid does a good job in this film. The guy who plays Peter, he does a good job. But man, he is greasy through this entire
Yes, fucking yes. Every scene that he's in, I think, man, that is a sweaty motherfucker.
He just needs one of those like depression showers or something. He just needs a moment for cleanliness.
And I don't think he has touched his hair. Like, there's no product. He has never blow dried his hair. I don't know that he's washed his hair recently.
So while she is like fisting this cake into her mouth, and Peter is smoking it up, she comes walking into the room like, "Peter, I can't breathe, Peter." And he's like, "What's the matter? Just have some cake?" She's like,
he's
"Yeah."
like sucking down a bong hit.
Yeah. What's the fucking problem?
I love that like 1 second where he's just like, he looks around like, I can't put this anywhere, so I'll just leave it in my hand.
Yeah. Well, she's like, I would tell on you, except I think I might die soon, so I don't care. Take me to the hospital.
Yeah. Well, this is a nitpick. Like, everything in this movie is telegraphed, except for her allergy. Like, for some reason,
Nope.
For some reason.
That is telegraphed.
Is there something?
When she's eating the Hershey bar right in the beginning, and he's like, "Hey, has that got nuts in it? We don't have her EpiPen."
Yeah, at the beginning, I was like, yep, that's not going to come back at all. And then as soon as we walk into the party, the very first thing that you see is a girl chopping up like 4 pounds of walnuts.
As you do. But okay, problem solved. I guess I didn't catch it. Like that one moment I must have just like turned my head and coughed or something.
You take one of them Chandler peas. But yeah, so now they have to panic rush out to the car and drive her to the hospital because she is dying.
And like,
I think they're walnuts, but okay.
Nut allergy.
Yeah, there you go. Because peanuts are legumes.
Keeping it.
Please cut that.
No. But the kid, Peter, like, he might be like a super stoner, just like this fucking gross kid. He snaps into action. Like, he whisks her up like a superhero, throws her in the station wagon, and just fucking jets out of there.
Yeah, he legitimately loves his sister, as annoying as she may be, and he just snaps into action and drives. I don't know where these people are, but they are in the middle of nowhere.
Long straight to Ville.
Yeah, so I think they've got to be in like Montana or Wyoming or somewhere.
Like where we just saw the entire population of the state.
Yeah.
You gotta drive 30 minutes to a party. Because
you got fucking Uncle Rico over there.
Nobody wants a roundhouse from these bad boys.
There it is.
So this is one of the big scenes of the movie. He is speeding on his way to the hospital after this party, and old girl is in the back seat. She is struggling to breathe. She rolls down the window. She's trying to suck every last breath that she can down her throat. She sticks her head out the window, like struggling for breath. And he's speeding down this road, this little 2-lane road, trying to get to the hospital. And he sees a deer in the road. He swerves to avoid it last second. And she kisses her face against this telephone pole.
Mwah. She's trying to get like a big breath of fresh air, but got a face full of telephone pole.
That's a breath of fresh ass. Oh, fucking Wild Wild West. But yeah, she gets fast and furiously decapitated. Man, oh man, is the fucking sound effect here perfect. Just a wet, crunchy slump. It's just fucking awful sounding. And Peter knows immediately. And the delivery of the tears in his eyes, the eyes just darting to the rearview mirror for a split second to make sure that he knows he is right, and the realization of it being right, him sinking into the chair, easing off the brake, and just driving home in shock is incredible.
Yeah, because keep in mind, he is stoned at the same time. He is stoned and in shock, which is like, what are you going to do?
That's what I wanted to bring up. The actor who played Peter, his mannerisms about him just showing shock seem completely organic. Like, this kid has the world flying by in his brain at the moment, and he just cannot function. So all he does is just kind of like scoot home. Like, that's the only thing he had like left that was just like a straight line in his mind.
Yeah, he doesn't linger about the head that is now laying in the street. He's just like, he just drives home. He just walks into his house, goes to bed, and it's just, fuck, what do I do now?
I'm praising this guy's performance right here, but this leads into the next amazing performance. Now, this kid, he lays in bed all night, doesn't even blink. And, like, his mom, oblivious to the situation, and, like, you just hear her in the background, like, oh, I gotta go to the arts and crafts store, I'll be back in 20. And you hear her just go outside, open the door, shut it, and she's like, huh? And the fucking scream. The scream of realization that her decapitated daughter's in the back seat is fucking ridiculous.
Not to mention the long cut with her still screaming in the background to show us the severed head with the fucking busted chin, lip, tooth area.
And the ants.
Covered in ants.
Yeah.
It's horrific. All set to the tune of the cars driving by and the mother still screaming.
It almost doesn't sound human.
And you can hear her saying, as she's like hysterically scream crying, I just want to die, this kind of thing. Which is, I mean, we all know somebody who would react in that way.
it's such a motherly thing. Like wherever this actress got that from, like whatever experience she had, just came out in this like feral response, and it just like kind of stuck with me for the rest of the movie.
So she's just lost her mother, and now she's lost her 13-year-old daughter in like a completely brutal way. She was decapitated
by a telephone pole.
Yeah.
She is sitting there curling herself into a ball. Like if you've ever dry heaved, she is dry heaved screaming, and it's incredible to see. It really is.
Her performance alone is worth the ticket of admission. I'm just going to put that out there again. I can't praise her enough.
Yeah, she's knocking out of the park. I think the actor who plays, Peter, he does a great job of just this. They got this kid not for his way to deliver a line, because when he's speaking, his lines aren't the best, like delivery wise, but the way he can emote with his face is incredible. The kid always looks just absolutely confused and miserable and in pain, and it fits. And the guy that got to be the husband, he is just this steady rock of, if I don't keep this together, everything is going to fall apart.
Oh, for sure.
He is going to fall apart.
That's what I was going to say. That's a perfect analogy, being a rock, because a rock can erode. And through this entire movie, you can see him just not falling apart, but trying to figure out what's important. Even going as far as telling Annie, the wife, like, hey, I'm just going to take care of Peter, and you can go fuck off and be crazy.
Like, I've got a son to take care of, and that's my priority right now.
And hangs up on her like a boss, just like, Bert.
The next thing you know, Peter comes home from school, rides his bicycle, and you see him just, like, take this breath, like, oh, like, I've got to go into the house, face my parents, takes a breath, and walks in. And just past that, you see the mom, who is, like, slumped down, hiding in the car, who, as soon as Peter gets in the house, she takes off and goes back to her support group. She gets there, and like, she's about to leave as soon as she gets there. Doesn't even walk in the building. She just pulls into the parking lot and starts to leave.
Now, before we jump to this next little piece, that's the same car her daughter was decapitated in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why in the fuck would you still be driving that?
I think it's their only mode of transportation, right?
Yeah, but I'd be like, no, get rid of this. It's gone.
I think they do have two automobiles. One's the mom's, one's the dad's. I don't see the dad's very often.
He's not.
But Peter asks, like, can I borrow one of the cars tonight?
She, gets this new grief counseling buddy, and she's going to leave. This lady's introduced to us, this Joan.
Yeah.
And they go on to discuss some things about, because Joan claims to have lost children as well. And she describes, seeing the body in the back seat covered in black tar-like blood. And it's the same fucking car. There would be no way.
I guess the insurance covers getting a detail.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that she just, like, makes this friend of the support group. She's going into the parking lot and immediately is about to leave until she gets flagged down by this lady, like, hey, don't leave. Hey, let me come talk to you. She gets flagged down, and she's like, hey, I noticed you were here a couple months ago. You feeling better? My son died too, and my grandson, and, all of these things, giving her, like, a let's be friends, we're not too different, you and I, that kind of thing.
Let's grieve together,
Yeah, let's grieve together. Here's my number. Call me if you want to talk.
So she gets them digits and, heads home. And it goes to Peter, and he's laying in bed. And this is where we get, like, one of the first real fucking creepy scenes. He kind of wakes up, looks over to the corner of his room, because there's always something spooky in the corner, right? And like most of us have, there's, the lighting in the room makes it look like there's something there. And it looks like a person sitting in his chair looking at him, and you go, oh! He kind of raises up out of his bed to take a good look at it, and it's his hoodie sitting there over the chair, and he uncomfortably lays back down. But I thought that scene was wonderful.
Like, the reason that he woke up initially in the beginning was, like, he heard that his sister always did.
Yeah.
And this is the part of the movie where that sound kind of comes and goes. So you kind of have this sense of, like, with the information you got from, like, what was left of their grandma stuff, you kind of think there's some kind of, like, spooky spiritual stuff happening already.
Oh yeah.
Then that bleeds into the next bit because as Annie's working with like a little model, she spills some paint and she spills it on like the little note that had that lady's number on it, and she finally decides to just like go, and she convinces her to have like a seance, and they go through this whole shebang like, oh, I know it's silly, just do it, just make you feel better.
Well, as she's going into this apartment, she notices like the floor mat or the welcome mat is her name embroidered, and she was like, well, my mom used to embroider welcome mats just like that. And Joan is just like, well, isn't that funny? Kind of dismisses it. That's a little foreshadowing.
It's kind of like she kind of acts like that neighbor who that's totally murdered the last people lived in that house,
but is also really sweet to you. Yeah, she is just like that neighbor.
Want some hot candy? Help me bury this corpse.
Yeah.
But in that little conversation before she convinces her to go do a seance thing, like we learn that she sleepwalks, and that at some point a couple years ago she maybe in the middle of sleepwalking doused her son and daughter in paint thinner and lit a match, and only woke up because she lit the match, and that Peter has kind of held a grudge against her ever since then.
Don't blame him.
Yeah,
I can't either.
One. That's a rough one. I mean, like the craziest sleepwalking story I've heard is like, oh man, I ate too many snack packs and then my belly hurts.
Yeah.
What were you doing? Almost burnt my entire family.
Oh.
But she's got something in the tea too. Did you guys catch that? Now, that started me in the idea that, when I first saw this movie, she gives her the tea and you can see the eyes going from her to the tea, waiting for her. And then she finally takes the big drink and, Joan relaxes at that point and they start talking. There's so much of that in this film, just watching people waiting for something to happen. And when it happens, the story moves on. It's really well done. I can't say that enough.
Yeah, so what was that? Was that another red herring, just a tea leaf, or was that something that I missed?
The only thing I can think of is that maybe that's how she transferred the demon. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It might not have been anything.
Because you said you seen the Midsummer, it could have been her menstruation and pubes.
Ew.
I mean, probably not.
Just saying.
Or like something as far as like she takes a drink, passes out, wakes up in a Wicker Man, and Christopher Lee's just out there just fucking having a jingle.
Yeah, why not? But she makes it home, and the husband has made dinner, and he's trying his damnedest to keep this fucking thing afloat.
Well,
he's like,
she doesn't just come in. She goes and I guess she, instead of the project that she's supposed to have been working on for her actual job, she decides to build a model of the accident. And she puts a lot of work into this. It probably took a couple of days. And the husband comes in and is like, are you coming down for dinner? I don't give a fuck if you do. You're going crazy.
He's rightfully disgusted about this whole thing. Like, he walks in, realizes what she's doing, and he's like, oh, are you fucking serious? What if Peter sees this? And she's just like, it's fucking art. And like, he's just like, fuck you, I'm having dinner without you, whatever.
Dude, the way that she put it is such a fucking cold, and she does this throughout the film. The inner, like her innermost thoughts kind of slip out, and I think that's, got to do with her losing her shit and all that, but it's really good. She goes, what? It's a neutral view of the accident.
Yeah, like her justification or something.
Yeah, and man, whenever they get downstairs, fuck does it go off.
It sure does.
I had like a moment because like this family dinner explodes, and I was just like, man, this is give me some like PTSD.
Yeah, for sure. I've got an aunt that sounds an awful lot like this.
But they end up going the fuck off.
Yeah, it starts out with just like the son saying, Dad, this is really good, and the dad being like, well, thanks, buddy. And then mom just smirks, and kid's like, Mom, do you have something to say? Do you want to tell us something? Then she just goes the fuck off.
Yeah. Well, it's not just the explosive argument. It's the order of the information that comes out of her mouth, right? Because like at first she's like, like, I know you're hurting, you don't have to take it out on me. But then her actual feelings come out saying like, oh, it is your fault, say sorry, you dumb bitch.
Yeah, it's like, I want to shield you from the knowledge that you fucking killed your sister, but you won't take any responsibility from it. I'm trying to help you, but you won't fucking take responsibility because she's dead.
It's again, this is another just mind-blowing performance by this woman, because it's how this emotion-driven argument will go. She's trying to be supportive of her child that she still has and still loves. She's like, I want to take this pain from you, but fuck you because you made this pain.
And then his argument for that is like, what about you taking any responsibility? She didn't even want to go to the party.
And then
why was she there?
Cut to that reaction gif where everybody's just like, oh, it just ended her whole career.
Dad just goes, that's it. That's a fucking enough.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing this. And they separate, and the son and the dad are just sitting there, and the dad tries to continue pretending to be normal, but it's too much stress, and he just gives up.
They're like, they go back to bed and everything, and like they're kind of like snuggling or whatever. Then she's just like, no thanks, and just goes to grab her blanket, and he's like, where you going, fucking liar?
She's like, I'm going to the tree house for a little while, and he's like, you're not coming back. You're taking the blanket.
And she's like, man, whatever. And nightmare time.
Like, we have a moment where she walks into the kid's room, and he's just like covered in just like ants or whatever, kind of like the kid's head from earlier.
Yeah, Anthony Ants and My Eyes Johnson over there.
There's like ants in the bed sheets, ants on the wall, like, so she follows the ants, and the ants just like are covering Peter's face.
It's fucking gross. They're like bubbling out of his mouth.
I've got ants in my eyes.
The ants! They're in my eyes!
And then Peter wakes up immediately and is like, you were sleepwalking. She replies with, is Charlie here? The kid's just like, what the fuck, Mom? Like, what's going... Like, you know Charlie's not here. Why are you afraid of me? And she just responds with, I never wanted to be your mother.
Clasps her mouth and then continues to word vomit, I tried to have a miscarriage. And
I tried everything that I could to have a miscarriage. Everything that they told me I tried to do, but you still came out of me.
And she's trying to like cover her mouth some more, almost like that bit from Liar Liar where he's trying to say the pin is blue.
Yeah.
But she wakes up again. Evidently that was another just nightmare dream.
Yeah, like a dream within a dream or something.
Yeah.
Seems like I've been here before. Seems so familiar. Seems like I'm slipping into a dream within a dream. That's Tool, by the way. So she just... But for whatever reason, this fucking horrible nightmare gives her the idea that, you know what? It's time for a conjuring.
Let's go do the thing that Joan told me to do. I'm going to go wake up Peter. I'm going to wake up the husband. We're going to go downstairs. I'm going to act hysterical about it. I'm going to act crazy about it. And they are all very apprehensive. But I feel like Peter's just like, all right, like, let's do this. And the husband's just like, no, let's go back to bed. What the fuck are you doing? I'm tired of this shit. You're crazy.
Yeah. I mean, like, she knows damn well, like, there's no way, like, any of this could help the situation. And when things finally go, like, into, like, the supernatural area, like, when shit starts to move and whatnot, and everyone's clearly freaked the fuck out. She's like, no, that's supposed to happen. Give me a second here. Let me try it again.
What do you mean it's supposed to happen? The fucking air just flexed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peter's like, don't you feel the air flexing? I don't even know what that means. You mean wind?
Do you feel it?
And then, like, they start doing the little
shit.
What's the word? The seance thing, and tells Charlie to like move the glass if you're here, and the glass moves a little bit. And Dad is still not having any of this shit.
Yeah, he's like, what are you doing? Checking under the table. And then Peter starts to lose his shit, and that pisses the ghost off. And so the ghost throws the glass, and the dad's like, what the fuck is going on? And then the mom starts like growling like she's possessed, and then Charlie starts speaking through her, and that's enough to make everyone lose their shit.
Yeah. Especially the kid, which, like, rightfully so. When I say kid, he's like probably a 16, 17-year-old boy. Like, he's not a kid, but yeah.
Yeah. Like, he's scared of shit, but I also enjoy watching the father who just saw two supernatural things happen right before his eyes, but he's so worn down by his wife just being a crazy person. He's just like, no, not no. Enough. Stop it. All right, let's go to bed. All right, come on.
Yeah.
But everyone's losing their shit, and Dad's like, oh my God, he gets a glass of water, throws it on her, and that's enough to break it up. And he goes, listen, lady, no more no shit. God damn it.
Whoa.
Yeah. And he says, like, I've got a son to protect. That's my priority. Do what you need to do, but leave me out of it, pretty much.
Yeah, and things start getting, fast paced here to where more and more of this, there's this weird light shimmer, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like a pulse of light. And Peter keeps seeing it, and it's messing with him. And every time it does...
Charlie actually saw that earlier, but I thought it was just like it's just whatever. But now Peter's seeing it too.
Yeah. And he has a moment where, he hears the... And he turns, and in this reflection, it's him, but he's smiling back at himself. And then he does the noise to his own self, and he's like, oh, shit. And then the teacher's like, the fuck you doing? He's like, I need to poop. And
I gotta go.
And calls
that scene is actually really creepy to me. Like, I think that's a really good scene for as simple as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think his reaction's on point. Like, that crazy shit happened, and then, like, he absolutely needs to leave this classroom, and teacher's just like, you okay? Can't talk, gotta poop.
Yeah, there's, like, really... Like, it's creepy, but at this point, he's not completely lost his shit. As soon as it happens, he just kind of jumps up and no, and he's just like, not doing this, I'm out.
The next thing we see is Mom working in her sort of studio thing on this project that she's supposed to have been working on for weeks, she's got a deadline, and her gallery calls her and leaves a message and is like, hey, we've been worried about you. We've got your thoughts and prayers with your family. It's more than okay if you need to postpone your show or if you need to delay it for a little bit, And this is what she's been, like, putting pressure on herself to do. Like, she's been leaving Post-it notes like, hey, call the gallery to see if you can get a deadline extension. The gallery calls her to give her an extension and ask, like, is there anything that we can do for you? And then she just fucking Hulk smashes the entire thing. Everything in her project room just gets fucking demolished.
Yeah, it turns out the word postpone was the word of the day, so everything just went fucking crazy.
I thought that the man on the other side of the phone was nothing but understandably sweet.
Yeah, for sure.
He was like, listen, whatever you need, you've got it. You need an extension, say the word. It's not even a big deal. I promise. And she's like, the fuck you mean, bro? Deadline! Woo! And she just fucking goes, like, this dude's like, you can take some time and chill. It'll be fine. But she's like, no!
Yeah, she, like, has this, the psychotic episode passes, and, like, the dad walks back in, finds her just, like, covered in fucking model pieces. Everything's busted to shit. Her entire art studio is just basically demolished. And he just walks in and just like, what the fuck? And she's just like,
what the fuck happened here?
And she just goes, I woke up and just hated everything.
Nice. I like his response. Walk out of the room, takes extra meds.
Poor guy.
As soon as they walk in the house during the scene, the dad and Peter are like, what the fuck's that smell? And my first inclination is that, like, Mom has put paint thinner on something.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, she's gonna, like, douse something in paint thinner and set it on fire. And that's just not explored at all anymore, at least for a while. They just kind of are like, all right, I guess our house stinks now.
More setup, and it's wonderfully done.
Yeah.
We skip to bedtime, and she is woken up by gross graffiti. She can hear this loud scribbling from somewhere in the house, and she makes it all the way to Charlie's room, where her favorite doodling notepad is doodling pictures, all the same picture, over and over and over
And we kind of skip away from that for a second. We see Peter sleeping, and then we hear that infamous. Again, he immediately wakes up, sees Charlie, like actual Charlie this time, in the corner, and her head just falls off.
Yeah, for some reason she just appears like standing on top of her dresser, like she has the high ground or something.
The head falls off, turns into a ball, rolls towards the kid, who is fucking freaking out. And then suddenly there's a family dog that I didn't know they had until this very instant.
Where the fuck did this dog come from?
I have no clue. Like, is there any connection to this dog with anything? Like,
no.
I've never seen it before.
The only scene the dog is in until the very, very end.
Some kind of symbolism I'm not aware of. The dog just appears, and you're like, oh, that's a cute dog. And then the door slams in its face, and it yelps. I'm just like, what's happening?
And then Peter starts, like, from behind his bed, starts getting his throat grappled. His head is getting pulled off from these, like, invisible not invisible, but these hands that are just there trying to pull his head off. Then the next thing you know, his mom's just standing there like, what's going on? Why were you screaming?
He's like, you were trying to kill me, lady. And she's like, nah, man, I wasn't me. And don't tell your dad because that's a lie. Don't.
It wasn't me.
Fix this. I'm going to go fix it right now. And she goes and gets that doodly pad with all the sad faces of, Peter in it. And she tosses that bitch in the fire.
And they all have, like, X's for eyes, too. I'm not sure what the symbolism here is, but, like, every face in that notebook had X's for eyes.
He's probably gonna die. Who knows?
Probably.
Yeah, you put the little X on their eye until, they're dead.
Well, I mean, never mind. We'll get there.
She's frustrated. She chucks the book in the fire, and it starts to burn, but for some reason she doesn't notice that she starts to burn, too. She just, like, has that moment where she's like, all right, fucking got it. Oh, also, I'm a flame.
Oh, is that what happens? Because I was just like, oh, she changed her mind. Why the fuck did she pull it out?
How'd you not see her whole arm on fire?
Like I saw it catch fire, and I was just like, oh, like, she just got too...
huh?
No, like, I just thought maybe she caught her sleeve on fire while she was, like, trying to pull that out of the fire or something. Like, I don't know.
You know what it is? That's totally one of those moments where you saw her throw it in the fire and you're like, okay, I need to look at my paper and take a note. She set a light, and then you look back up to see what was happening, and now she's on fire. And you're like, oh, well, she was caught on fire getting the book.
And I don't understand, like, why her first thought was to just, like, remove it from the fire and not just take her sweater off and also chuck it in the fire.
Yeah, but hey, Yeah. And this is really funny because this has a payoff later in the film. She's like, oh shit, I can't burn the book. And then the next scene we get is Peter waking up to go to school, and he sees that mom's door is ajar.
Grandma's door.
Walks by. Oh, grandma's door is ajar. He walks by, and mom is in that room, creepy peeping out.
I didn't notice that either. I noticed that grandma's door was ajar and thought he was just, like, walking by, and was just like, well, that's weird.
It shows the mom with, like, if you were in a dark room with the light coming through the crack of a door on your face, it shows that, and she's just, like, looking at him, and like, well, what the fuck is she doing?
Yeah, I don't remember that either, but, I wouldn't put it past the movie. There's a lot of that just, like, subtleness in there.
Oh, for sure. The next thing you know, Annie goes back to Joan's apartment because she's like, I need some answers. I need to do something. No one is answering the door, but you do get to see inside Joan's apartment, and it's like this altar with a pentagram and Peter's photo right in the middle of everything with a bunch of, like,
fucking voodoo magic.
It's like some fucking Blair Witch little stick figure guys made out of twigs and stuff.
Twigs and pill bottles.
Yeah.
Man, those middle-aged pagan ladies, I tell you.
Yeah.
Like, Annie doesn't see that, but from inside the apartment, we, the viewer, can see. And you're like, all right, some ominous, weird shit is going on.
By the next scene, the lunchtime expulsion.
Which one's that? I don't remember that.
So while she's beating on Joan's door, no one answers. Well, no one answers.
Oh, yeah.
Is busy sitting across the fucking street from the school, yelling at Peter magically because no one else can hear it. And she's like, Peter. He's like, huh? Peter. And he's just trying to have his chocolate milk and chicken nuggies. He looks up and sees this lady across the street, and she's like, get out of your body. And he's like, what? She's like, get out of your body. I expel you. And he's like, is anyone else hearing this crazy bitch? Mom, meanwhile, makes it home where she starts digging through Granny's shit and finds a book. And guess what? Exposition time. It's in a fucking highlighter. King Paimon wants a male body. If you help this demon get a male body, the god of mischief, you're going to get mad money. So get rich and die trying.
Dang, got that Loki money.
She
and
finds
also in like a photo album in that same box, she starts seeing all these pictures of her her mom with Joan, even though Joan said like never gave any inclination that she knew her mom. And all kinds of other like culty, witchy, ceremonial shit in there too.
Yeah, I like how the her satanic book club took pictures and everything, just to, for memories.
You gotta have the memories.
Otherwise, what do you have?
So she gets back to the house and she's like, "Man, something's stinking. What's in the attic? Flies. Oh, and Mom's headless dead body."
Oh, well, just before that, we get the dad is at work and he gets an email with photos from the insurance company that Grandma's body has been exhumed. The grave has been, what do you call it?
Desecrated.
Desecrated, and the corpse has been stolen. So I guess we're going to give you money for that, right? Being an insurance company?
I know, money talks and grandmas walk, so whatever. And we have this moment of, I don't want to call it stability, but, the mom, Annie, she goes back and forth from just being legitimately crazy and lucid. And when she finds her mom's headless body just rotting away upstairs, she's kind of snaps back to reality.
But does she really?
Ah, there you go.
By the way, like, she goes up to this attic and is immediately hit with the stank. And I don't know why they weren't looking for this stank all along, because, like, there's flies just swarming up there. Mm. And it's Grandma in her, like, her culty robes, not just, like, whatever she was buried in. She's in her robes looking like a grand wizard or something.
She's just up there taking a nap. Don't disturb her. She's dead tired.
Also, she doesn't have her head.
No reason to lose your head. Yeah. Cut to Peter. Peter's having like weird throaty seizure, and he starts fucking headbutting his desk and then screaming. Holy shit! If this is not an intense scene.
Yeah, it really is. He audibly himself does like that thing, and then just starts smashing his face up against the desk, and it is for sure intense.
I love like the reactions from the students around him, like that girl that he likes. She's like, "Oh man, Peter, what's wrong?" And the guy in front of him is like, "Dude, what are you doing, Peter?"
Oh,
quit being a gay. And then he just like slams his face on the desk, and everyone's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, we cut back to Dad at work, like he just poured himself some whiskey, like he's fucking what's his name from Mad Men, just drinking a whiskey at work, and he gets a call from school like, "Hey, come pick up your son." His face is busted as fuck.
And this is where the dad finally can't take it. He picks his son up, who looks a mess. He's got this fucking thing on his nose where he is hurt. He's driving his son home in the pouring ass rain, and he stops at the stoplight because he almost ran through it because he was so focused on his kid, and he just stops there and he starts fucking crying.
Yeah, but like this moment is kind of harrowing. It's just super, super sad because he's had it together this entire time, and what sets him off is that like little bit of adrenaline rush he got from almost getting hit by a car, and it's just everything just culminated, and he just had to let it go.
Yeah, breaks down.
Yeah, it is like when the dad finally starts crying and is like, "Fuck, I've had too much." Like that's kind of a turning point in this movie.
Yeah.
He takes the son home and he starts pulling up the driveway, and the mom is there waiting for him.
I feel like at this point, if like he was trapped in a room with a gun and 2 bullets with Hitler and Saddam Hussein, he would just shoot the wife twice.
He might shoot himself twice.
Oh,
he comes home to her, and she is wearing some sort of white tee, these capri jammy pants, and galoshes, and she is screaming nonsense. Like, you gotta come in here, you gotta go look upstairs, bro. We gotta save Pete. And he's like, what?
She's like,
look
she's like,
upstairs.
what happened to him? Oh my god, what happened? I saw a body in the attic. I think it's my mom. Oh my god, it's bloody and the head is gone. Oh my god, you gotta come up and look. You gotta listen to me. Yeah.
Then he's like, shame, loads the shotgun, takes her out.
No.
So he goes up to look into the attic and verifies, like, yep, that's your mom. We have to call the cops.
And she's like, don't do that.
He comes back down and and Annie's like, but there's more. Now, you gotta come look at this. And he's just like, there's more than your mother's corpse in the attic. And she's like, yeah, this woman that I've been talking to knew my mom.
And he's just like, yeah, okay. We should call the cops.
That's much less big news than your mother's corpse in the attic.
And then he does a very logical thing. She's like, also, on top of all this other shit I'm dropping on you, this book, it's full of evil pictures. If we burn it, everything's okay, but we're both going to probably die if we burn it, but we got to burn it. You got to trust me. Roger Rabbit crying. And
Please!
Yes. And then he's just like, listen, I've had enough. I'm not doing this. It's not healthy for me to keep going along with you with this shit. I'm taking my kid. I'm getting the fuck out. She goes, that's it. I'll show you. Look. And she throws the book in the fire and then just like fucking, whoa! He just goes up and like Scorpion just lit him up.
Yeah, I don't quite understand what happened here. She tossed the notebook in the fire and Dad just goes up in a blaze.
He 100% doesn't deserve that. I'm on the same page as you, Brady. Like, I don't know how the fuck this happened, because it was very well put into place that if she burns that book even just a little, she would go up in flames. But she hucks it in there, and then he just fucking turns into Crispy Man.
The only thing that I can think of is that this spirit, this entity, just keeps jumping from one person to another. Like sometimes it's in Charlie. Maybe it jumped from Charlie to the mom, jumped from the mom to the dad, from the dad to the kid. You know, it just keeps jumping. And at that point in time, it was in the father.
I just feel like I should turn into Adam Savage. Like, no, you can't change the rules. You know.
Yeah, I don't have an explanation.
It just burns him up, and that's it. You don't get to see anything else. It just cuts to Peter waking up.
The next thing that we see is Peter waking up with he sees the heater on in the treehouse outside the house, which we've seen a few times before whenever his mom or Charlie has been up there before.
Yeah, he gets out of bed and he's like, takes a big whiff, like, huh, Dad must be cooking again.
But man, oh man, if you are not paying attention, you will fucking miss it. He sits up out of bed, and as he's sitting there and he looks at the treehouse and the camera comes back to him, up in the back left corner is the fucking mom. She is pressed into the corner like a fucking Spider-Man. But she is
Spider-Man. In my notes, I wrote Spider-Man.
Barely visible until he like hears something and he turns his head the other way, and you see her like go crawling across the wall, and you go, oh my god.
Like, the way we describe it sounds goofy, but it's fucking creepy.
I mean, it's a little goofy. I'm not saying this is where the movie lost me, but it's a little goofy. It's a little goofy. I'm like, what are you doing up there, Mom?
Yeah, because why Mom is up there, you know, because Dad burned up and now Mom has superpowers.
Yeah.
I guess he was.
This is where that spirit or whatever, you know, we fully get to see that spirit inside of one of them. Okay.
And he starts roaming through his house looking for love in all the wrong places. Until he finds Crispy Dad and Mom corner camping again.
So he makes his way downstairs and he passes by his grandma's door again, which is noticeably ajar, but he keeps going and he runs into his father's corpse downstairs, which is absolutely toasty. It looks like a Jamaican jerk chicken.
Mom is corner camping in the ceiling again, but that's not what he notices. He notices this naked fucking dude with the whitest teeth ever.
Yeah, where the fuck did that guy come from?
standing in the closet. And he's like, oh, God. And then he hears like a clump. And you think Mom has dropped down behind him. But no, she's somehow in front of him, running out of the dark corner. Super fucking scary.
Fucking tactical insertion. Bullshit.
Mm-hmm. She has Shadow Step, level 4 spell.
Yeah. So, for whatever reason, the mom, the son runs to the attic. The mom chases him up there in her, like, Spider-Man vest. Like,
Dude.
That's the only way I can describe her, because she is agile and running like a Spider-Man.
This shit is terrifying. Like, he goes up into the attic, barely pulls the ladder up in time, shuts it. She is now somehow adhered to the ceiling, headbutting it so rapidly, and he is, he's a teenager, but he is so far gone, losing his shit, that he's almost ready to curl into a fetal position, and he is crying, literally, for his mommy.
So, with him being in the attic, does that mean he has the high ground?
Well, you know who else has the high ground? From High Ground Brewing Company in Terra Alta, West Virginia. I don't even know where that is. What I've got here to drink today is Delbert. It's their Czech-style Pilsner. And I actually had another beer lined up to talk about, but I had this last night, and it blew me away so much that I wanted to talk about it here. But it does this style so good. It's so crisp. It's got a solid, full-bodied presence. It's crisp. It's clean. Just perfect for a warm evening, honestly. I'm so impressed with this beer. It's got that hop backbone that you need in a Pilsner, or else it just feels like you're drinking nothing. It really does the style a whole lot of justice, where you really don't get a whole lot of that in a Czech-style Pilsner anymore, at least outside of Bohemia. This beer is really fucking good.
Man, that sounds like a good enough beer to sponsor the show. Wink.
I wish they would. I'm constantly impressed with High Ground. But much like I'm pounding down this beer, Mom was pounding her fucking head on that attic door. Like, it sounds like she's, like, hammering with her fist. No, she's hammering with her head.
Yeah, for like a brief moment, she turns into almost like Pennywise from It, and just goes fucking wild.
What it reminds me of is The Exorcist, whenever she's doing her thing.
Exercising, yeah.
Whenever she's exercising. Linda Blair is jazzercising. Sweating to the oldies, she is.
Well, speaking of oldies, poor old Peter upstairs. He's got the little door locked. He's crying, balling up a storm. Then he realizes there is just like a fleet of naked people behind him,
and all kinds of candles lit in the attic. So
shit's
a little bit weird. Yeah,
you have to set the mood. Yeah.
So at this point, he's got to be wigging the fuck out. His mom is climbing on the ceiling, pounding on the attic door. He sees these naked people there, who are like just standing there, just naked people. And at this point, I guess he's had enough. He sees an imprint of where a body was, and his photo is on the floor in that imprint with the eyes like marked out. So he's just like, all right, I'm jumping out this fucking window.
Yeah. I thought that was going to be a little bit of foreshadowing too, because they weren't marked out. It's almost like they were burned out with a cigarette. So I was like, oh man, they're going to blind this kid for whatever reason.
I wasn't even really sure how to go about saying that. They were just like somebody had taken a pencil and just like like there were holes where the eyes are.
He's like up there, and he's telling himself he's got to wake up. It's a dream. But it's not a dream. It's literally his mom is somehow now floating in the center of the room, sawing off her own head with a wire.
Oh yeah,
she's got like a guitar string or piano wire or something, just like hanging up there in the middle, just like
Sting.
I was actually curious, like how she was going to do that. Like the meat, I can understand, but like getting through the bone, I was like, there's going to be a moment where like she's not going to feel anything, right?
Yeah. What's that song from Beetlejuice that you hear?
Like, hey,
Jade. Yeah. That's what I was picturing. I don't know the words, but that's what I was picturing whenever she's up there, just like doing her like guitar wire shimmy, cutting her own head off.
I mean, it's a pagan thing, you know.
Yeah, but as soon as Mom saws the head off, he's like, "Nope!" He dives out the fucking window, and then one of them
Scott Pilgrim or something.
Yeah, one of Zach Bagans' spirit orbs floats down into him.
Oh Christ! And this is where, unfortunately, the movie kind of loses me because, like, he hurls himself out the window. We get a brief moment of like this like orb being absorbed into his back, so we can, absolutely assume that it's the evil demon. Then he gets off the ground, kind of stumbles a little bit, and then you see his mom's headless body just go like right up into the treehouse.
Right before that, though, we actually hear Mom's head finally finish being sawed off, and you hear the thunk on the attic floor while he's laying there on the ground, and it's just like, ooh.
Yeah, I understood that bit, but it's just the way there was just no sound, and you just see like, whoop. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, just the floating, and then he stands up and he gives another one of those little noises.
Yeah.
And we get to see the fucking dog again, but now it's dead. Someone killed it.
I didn't even notice the dog here.
Yep. Dead there, flowers. And he gets a nude parade as he goes into the treehouse.
Yeah, he walks up, I guess, climbs up into the treehouse, and everyone is just like bowing to him, either naked or in those weird robes, the cultish robes.
It's like some kind of weird balls out hot yoga sesh.
Ugh. He just climbs into the treehouse. It just smells like nutsack and sweat.
I guarantee it. And the first big visual we're given is this, Christ-like deity of Charlie's head on a fucking mannequin.
Yeah, it's like a mannequin of King, whatever. What's his name?
Paimon,
yeah. And two corpses are sitting down in front of it, like kneeling below it, without their heads.
Yeah, it's Mom and Granny.
Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Yep, they're bowing headlessly to it.
Okay.
And they walk over, take off the little crown, and they put the Burger King crown on the kid, and the body's moving now bowing to him, and they're like, "Hail King Paimon!" And then we get more exposition.
Man, you guys, I want a Whopper.
I mean, okay. So this moment is the climax. The music is going fucking 110%, like, whoa, wow, whoa, wow.
Yeah, this is the last, minute of the movie.
And I'm just like, what? Is this it?
Well, in this last second, I don't know what is going actually through Peter's head, if his head is, if his mind is that of King Paimon, or if he's just like, what the fuck is going on right now? I am in shock.
Had that myself. I was like, okay, is he Paimon or has he just gone fucking insane?
I thought he had to have been possessed because, when he got off the ground, he just goes click. And I was like, oh, okay, this is how you know that he's fully just, possessed.
So does that mean that Charlie, through this entire movie, from the very beginning with her tick, was Paimon?
Yeah, but Paimon was just biding his time because he didn't want to be in her.
Yeah, you do get a little bit of exposition with that, with Joan saying, all right, we got you out of your, female body. We got you a male body now.
Okay, I just had a realization that maybe Annie did kill him while he was in her womb, and that gave Grandma the opportunity to put Paimon in.
What?
No. Because Granny didn't even like Peter. She just wanted to use Peter as a shell. Because she tried to do that, the spell with Peter, but the daughter even says, I wouldn't let her near Peter.
Yeah.
I pulled him away. She wanted Peter, but she couldn't get close. She had to settle for Charlie, and then they put all this into action.
Yeah, and Charlie, Grandma always wanted Charlie to be a boy.
It's just so unsatisfying. It's almost like I went on a family vacation, and then I get there and the place is fucking closed.
It's like season 8 of Game of Thrones. You've watched 7 seasons of these people building these amazing characters, setting up this amazing finale, and then you get it, and you're like, okay, here it is, and they're like, oh yeah, everything that should have been probably an entire other movie is going to happen in a minute and a half.
I kind of get that, but I'm a lot more satisfied with the end of this than I was. I'm not even going to say that, because I was satisfied with the ending of Game of Thrones. I just thought that it should have lasted a little bit longer and should have had a little bit more exposition. This, I'm fine with it. I really am. Peter, just looks kind of like in shock or stoned or both again. And we've got like the entire cult or whatever here just bowing down to him. It still leaves you questions.
Like, I'm fine with the movie having like an ambiguous ending, but it's almost like, since everything else in this movie had setups and payoffs, this felt like it came out of fucking nowhere. Just like that stupid telephone pole.
Oh!
I'll tell you, from the very beginning, when I first started this movie, I thought that that Charlie was going to be like I kind of had an idea of what was going on, but I thought Charlie was going to be the host. You know, she seemed like the central focus, and that Peter was just kind of like the brother, the older brother or whatever.
Yeah, and the sad sack that gets tortured because, you know.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I get that too, because like I get that too, because she's even on the poster and everything. She's on all the ads and whatnot. So I was like, okay, she's just going to be like almost like spiritual MacGuffin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of happy that she's not, honestly. But she kind of still is.
Just like this ending, it is, but isn't.
Hail Paimon!
Hail Paimon!
Unlike these other two fellas, this was the first time I'd ever seen this movie. I like it. I actually like it a lot. The ending loses me a little bit, but the rest of this movie is filled with great cinematography, a great screenplay, phenomenal acting, phenomenal atmosphere. I almost feel like this movie started as just the idea for an ending, and they accidentally made a really great movie to support it.
I agree with you completely. I think this movie is pretty phenomenal. It feels like Wes Anderson decided to make a horror movie, and I'm all about that. Also, I just really like the idea of like sort of Celtic Wiccan horror to begin with, like pagan Wiccan horror, whatever you want to say. I liked it a lot. The ending, I have no qualms with. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
So, with this film and me, I was terrified when I first saw it. The second time around wasn't nearly as terrifying because you know where it's going. I think had they taken some of the extra super, natural shit out of it, it could have been something that would have, stuck through the ages. Like, not so much the wall crawling, let's get rid of that. The floating in the air and sawing off your own head, let's just have you on the ground doing it or something like that. Let's get rid of that. And after he crashes through the window, hits the ground, and the spirit orb floats in him, he gets up. The people are there, including now, the whatever, headless grandma, all that is just waiting there. And they just, as they rise, they're like, Hail Paimon, whatever king of the hells. And then that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I want to compare this to in like a really rough way? Did either of you guys see Drag Me to Hell?
Yeah, it's a Sam Raimi movie.
Yeah. This is a much better movie than Drag Me to Hell. I'm not going to play like that, but it's this something that kind of builds and builds and builds. You get a whole lot of this lore, and at one moment you get, like in Drag Me to Hell, you have a scene where you have like a dancing goat, and her in the attic sawing off her head is kind of like the dancing goat of this film, where you're just like, what is that? Why is that? All right, let's pack it up now.
I want to give you that comparison. Very good, but that movie held a downbeat ending better than this one did.
You think so? I mean, absolutely. I like Drag Me to Hell quite a bit, more than your average person, but I think this is actually a much better film. Like, as far as a filmmaker's perspective, this is a much better film.
My argument, like, I don't think the ending is terrible. But I feel like as soon as the fire is its brightest, it just gets burnt out. It's like, oh!
Like, as soon as it could end, it does.
Yeah, I'm just like, I just felt like I needed a little bit more.
Okay.
Well, that was The Conjuring from 2018.
That was Drag Me to Hell. I don't know where I'm going with that. Never mind.
Anyways, well, I guess on that note, that was Hereditary from 2018. If you have any strong feelings about the movie or the podcast, please leave them in the comments below.
Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure to hit that bell icon so you know next time we've got another one of these brewing.
Get up there and follow us on all of our different social medias. We got that Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. We have a wonderful administrator constantly pumping out new content for you guys. So make sure you check it out, or we'll summon one of the 8 kings of hell to get inside your body.
Help, I'm on.
Help, I'm on.